You're watching WSBT 22 News at 5.
At least 11 confirmed tornadoes in central and northeastern Indiana. That is the latest from the National Weather Service as of now. And they're still investigating the possibility of more. Some of the worst damage is in Kokomo in Howard County. 4 tornadoes hit there, including an EF3 with winds of at least 158 miles an hour. At this point, there are no reports of any serious injuries, though. We have team coverage of the storms. Chief Meteorologist Matt Rudkin has been in contact with the National Weather Service all day. Molly Jurasek has the latest from the governor as he toured the area. But I want to begin with meteorologist Ed Russo. He's live in Kokomo surveying the damage there. And Ed, the damage that you are seeing is just devastating.
Yeah, Jennifer, it's absolutely incredible. I'm on the south side of Kokomo in one of the homes that's been damaged the most. Look at the roof, completely gone. And notice all of the debris scattered about the room, including this fan that fell from the ceiling. Many homes in the area with the same fate. Today was the day where a close-knit neighborhood came together, helping one another clean up after the storm. Homes torn apart, businesses destroyed, trees flattened, and people displaced from their homes. The buzz of chainsaws were echoing all day long, replacing the unforgettable sound heard going through this neighborhood just 24 hours ago, a noise that came with destruction.
Their shed that was in that back platform over there, the back cement platform, is now over here in my yard. So
I heard this huge thud, and I heard the glass breaking, and I knew I'd been hit.
And all of a sudden you heard, whoa, just a roar.
Grabbed my son, jumped over my bed and into my bathtub, and that's when I just heard a big crash.
I mean, we all survived, so I'm happy about that. So.
And notice the exterior wall behind me. This was one of the outside rooms, and we always tell people interior room, lowest floor of a home, and this is why this particular room would have been in one of the worst spots. Check out the interior hallway. Interior hallway, walls remain standing. As I walk further back, notice interior room, interior bathroom, walls still standing. That's exactly why we tell you again, interior room, lowest floor, your chances of survival in a tornado increase significantly. I want you to check out this quote on the wall here. It says, "Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain." And I spoke with the people that live here, and trust me, they live by those words. Live in Kokomo, I'm WSBT 22 First Alert meteorologist Ed Russo. Back to you.
Wow, Ed, thank you very much. The governor canceled his vice presidential campaign appearances to tour the area today. He was joined by Senator Joe Donnelly. WSBT 22's Molly Jurasek is at the live desk with more on their visit. Molly.
Jennifer, Governor Pence says he'll stick around Indiana as long as he has to help. As you mentioned, he was joined by Senator Joe Donnelly. The two are determined to help get resources to those in need to rebuild the area, pointing to Indiana's resilient past when it comes to severe weather.
Twice in 3 years.
Kokomo's Mayor Greg Goodnight reflects on his area's past. His home, Howard County, has seen 18 tornadoes in the last 65 years. The last one just 3 years ago in November. He's glad this one spared lives.
Those are the good stories that come out of something like this.
Some stories, not so good. Kathleen Marsh lived in this now disheveled apartment.
It blew my window out, and then that was it. I just ran downstairs. I was just so scared.
Governor Mike Pence visited Kokomo, moved by stories like Marsh's.
To hear the stories, to speak to a man whose mother and sister were in a home that only has 2 walls still standing, and they came out. To me, it's just remarkable, and it's nothing short of a miracle.
He's also congratulating the early stage of the cleanup progress.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, we'll do.
Senator Joe Donnelly recalls the tornadoes in the area from 2013, 2005, and 2004.
This is one of the most resilient, tough towns you'll ever find. We have had so many challenges years ago.
Donnelly says he's looking to see if there was enough damage to get help from Federal Emergency Management. I've been scanning Twitter all day, and lots of people are pitching in relief efforts. Kokomo's YMCA is offering showers to people. IU Kokomo students are helping cleaning up debris, and other mayors from Lafayette and Wabash are helping out. At the live desk, I'm Molly Jurasek, WSBT 22 News.
Matt, I know you've been in close contact with the National Weather Service. The number of tornadoes will probably rise.
It no doubt will. So here's the reports. These are the reports issued by you, by certified storm spotters, emergency management officials. And what the National Weather Service does is they go to these reports and verify what people reported as a tornado actually is. They look at the damage, they see if tree limbs and damage was twisted and not all in the same direction, which would then be straight line winds, and they verify all these. So let me step out of the way. Clearly, there's more than 11, right? So the Weather Service will go out, and they've already confirmed a few. See these two right here? These are EF3s in Allen County near Fort Wayne. This is the Kokomo one, so these are already confirmed. But there's several others they need to get out to in Indiana and also in Northwest Ohio. They got hit just as hard as North Central Indiana. And again, I have to stress, the reason nobody died and nobody was significantly injured was the National Weather Service in Indy and also ours in Northern Indiana, as well as the Indianapolis and Fort Wayne TV meteorologists worked as a team, and your family and friends at home listened to the warnings, and it saved lives. That Starbucks that you've seen so many pictures of, the manager there put everybody in the bathroom 20 minutes before the storm hit. And if you didn't do that, you saw Ed's video there, what happens, those exterior walls. So kudos to him and everybody else who listened to the warning, because you saved each other's lives, no doubt. Storm tracker radar, just what you want to see after an active weather day, is all clear. Here's a live look in Cass County. We haven't talked much about Michigan. We haven't forgotten about you, but luckily for you, that's a good thing when we're not talking about you. It means your weather's been quiet, not too active up that way. 80 degrees right now in Dowagiac. I'll have your weekend forecast coming up here in just a few short minutes.
Pence is requesting federal aid for flooding victims. The request covers St. Joseph County. It would help people impacted by last week's flooding get federal low-interest loans. If the feds agree, Elkhart, Marshall, LaPorte, and Stark counties would also qualify for those loans. Berrien and Cass counties in southwest Michigan would also be eligible because they border St. Joseph County. A change in the aftermath of the deadly Berrien County courthouse shooting here. County commissioners approved adding officers. A bailiff will be added to the courthouse in St. Joseph. The courthouse in Niles will get a deputy. Under Sheriff Chuck Height says these are positions that were cut years ago. 2 additional deputies for the courthouse in St. Joseph were approved at a meeting last week. An inmate killed 2 bailiffs last month. Well, hours of testimony underway to determine if South Bend's former abortion provider, Dr. Ulrich Kloffer, can keep his medical license. Kloffer performed abortions at the Women's Pavilion on Ironwood for years. WSBT 22's Suzanne Spencer is the only local TV reporter at that hearing. So, Suzanne, the Medical Licensing Board acts as a judge and a jury in this case.
The board will decide if Kloffer violated any Indiana statutes during his time at the South Bend Clinic, Gary Clinic, or Fort Wayne Clinic. And if he did, what sort of consequences could come about because of it. The Attorney General's office says Kloffer has committed hundreds of violations, some of those pertaining to documentation, incomplete reports, and failure to report abortions on 2 13-year-old girls. Kloffer's attorney said this is not a matter of procedures, but documentation, and that Kloffer didn't knowingly violate anything.
What they keep leaving off is what there has to be a knowing conduct, knowing that there's a high probability that your conduct is violating the statute, the law, the regulation in question. You've noticed that for all of these, there is no information, there's no facts, there's no piece of evidence, there's no document that says he knew.
And infer from the facts, did he knowingly do this or not? We don't have to prove intent by the state. We're bringing you facts so you can infer from the circumstances. Now, we think he did on all of these cases.
It's important to point out this hearing here today is for Kloffer's medical license. The clinic's license is a whole separate issue. Kloffer back in November had a discussion with the Indiana State Department of Health, and they agreed not to renew that license again back in November of last year.
Okay, Suzanne, so any indication when we will actually know about the future of Dr. Kloffer's license?
Right, Jennifer, we're 7 hours into this, and I'm told some of these hearings could take well into the night hours, 11 o'clock, even midnight. But if the board decides not to make that final decision tonight and wants to hear more testimony, it'll be at the next board hearing. We could even hear more testimony, and they could make their decision then. But ultimately, we're going to learn more over the next several hours when that decision could be made. But certainly lots of people awaiting this decision, people on both sides of the issue, in support and not in support of Dr. Klopfer, awaiting to hear the board's final decision.
Sure. Suzanne, thank you very much. A new national poll has Hillary Clinton leading Donald Trump by 7 points. Quinnipiac University conducted this poll, and it has Clinton at 45%, Trump at 38%. 10% say they will back Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson. Green Party nominee Jill Stein received support from 4% of those who were surveyed. The presidential candidates are accusing each other of playing the race card to win over voters. Weijia Jiang has more on the new tone of campaign 2016.
The presidential nominees are both focusing on race.
Hillary Clinton is a bigot who sees people of color only as votes.
Thursday, Donald Trump told a group of African American and Hispanic Republicans he's working to reach out to minorities.
I've made it a very important focal point in the speeches themselves, talking about the little work that's been done by the Democrats for African Americans.
But Trump has been giving those speeches to mostly white crowds.
Hillary Clinton is accusing Trump of being a bigot. She says he's pandering to the so-called alt-right movement, mostly made up of white supremacists.
Clinton focused on Trump's ties to the alt-right during a speech in Reno Thursday.
He is taking hate groups mainstream and helping a radical fringe take over the Republican Party.
The Clinton campaign released this web video linking Trump with Ku Klux Klan supporters.
Donald Trump would be best for the job.
Clinton's campaign also criticized new Trump campaign CEO Steve Bannon, saying his website, Breitbart News, catered to a racist crowd. Weijia Jiang, CBS News, the White House.
Trump will delve further into race and policy in a speech he's expected to give on immigration reform sometime next week. A plan to create new power in St. Joseph County is changing. Coming up at 5:30, what the developer wants to do now and ahead at 5.
The flood may be over, but that doesn't mean people aren't still suffering. I'm standing in the Salvation Army's food pantry. They say they need volunteers. I'll tell you how you can help coming up on WSBT 22 News.
Mostly dry out there this evening. We've got some sunshine in the forecast. I'll be right back.
Now, your accurate first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Matt Rudkin.
Well, before we talk about a local forecast, look at this damage. This is near Kokomo from our friends over at CBS 4 in Indianapolis. This is easily, as you can see, the National Weather Service confirmed EF3 damage. And keep in mind that enhanced Fujita scale goes up to 4 and 5. If it was a 5, no houses would be left standing, no trees would be around. It would just level everything. But you could see the width of that damage there in that neighborhood, and you could clearly tell the path from the right side of your screen to the left as the photographer and pilot there keep hovering around. Some extensive damage, and Ed Russo's been doing a great job showing you that and where the safe spots are in your homes as well. What you want to see after a big weather outbreak, right, is a clear radar. That is what we're seeing. The only shower popping up is near Valparaiso, right around US 30, just between Valpo and Maryville there, just south of the actual highway. That is it. Nothing else showing up, so good news there. Outside in our backyard, fairly quiet. We lucked out as a region in northern Indiana and southwest Michigan. We had no damage here, but just to our south, Logansport down towards Wabash area and obviously Fort Wayne saw a lot of issues compared to what we did. Few showers early tonight, then decreasing clouds. Fantastic tomorrow. Sunshine, low humidity, highs near 80. Hit and miss showers this weekend. We'll talk more about that coming up. Satellite and radar imagery shows you one last final push of moisture trying to get up here along a cold front. And the actual boundary, you can see the storm sparking along it would be right about there, right over us. and you can kind of see it with wind direction too, and I'll have that in just a minute. Temperatures upper 70s and low 80s. Warmest spots are on our southern counties. If you live near the state line, it really just depends on where you live. 78 New Carlisle, but down in Walkerton, you're at 83, 81 in LaPorte, 81 in Napanee, 79 right now in Wonkarusa. There's the northwest direction. So notice the cold front's gone through here. Rochester and Warsaw still reporting southwest winds. So that would mean the cold front is right there, continuing to push through the region. And once it does, the humidity levels will start to drop a bit. These are dew points. Dew points a measure of how much little water droplets are floating around in the atmosphere. 60s, lower number. Look at O'Hare, 63, for example, 70 in South Bend. So that's the cold front. Once it comes through, it starts to bring in the cooler, drier air. The dew points fall in 1 degree, and I know by later tonight, 11 o'clock, this will be in the 60s. That's the dry air coming in, and dry air cools quickly. When you have humidity around, it's little water droplets, and those water droplets retain heat. Without them, or with less of them, you cool quicker. So that's why we're expecting a refreshing night tonight. Here's Futurecast showing a couple of spotty showers ahead of that boundary as we go through the evening, but eventually they move away because the cold front takes all the moisture with it. Tomorrow, with that dry air, we'll see some sunshine, a lot of it. I think we'll see a few clouds late afternoon, but no rain expected for Friday Night Football. Good news. Mentioned the cooler temperatures. Futurecast also expecting that as well with the cooler and drier air. Upper 50s shown here in Elkhart County, low 60s across the board. But notice tomorrow, the difference is we get northwest wind. That dry air warms up nicely. We're in the mid 80s, our southern counties. Lower 70s near the lake shore. Here's your forecast. 63 tonight on average. A few showers in the next couple of hours. Otherwise, clearing skies. We'll go with an average of 80 tomorrow. A little cooler near the lake, a little warmer down by Warsaw and Rochester. And the next couple of days, Saturday and Sunday, just 30% coverage. Hit and miss showers. I wouldn't cancel your plans, but do plan to potentially dodge a few rain showers. Overall inactive with temperatures right around seasonable averages.
Yeah, it's a little more normal, I guess you could say.
That's nice.
Matt, thank you. You know, the flooding problems aren't going away soon. New at 6, experts tell us what you need to know when hiring contractors. And a tradition is back on WSBT 22, the Outstanding Student Athlete of the Week. We're going to introduce you to one student who is shining on the hardwood, the gridiron, and in the classroom. But next year at 5, it's been more than a week, but flooding problems still having a problem. So how you can help local victims coming up next. Kokomo is just now beginning the recovery process. Our area is still reeling from last week's historic flooding. WSBT 22's Jesse Schultz spoke with local volunteer groups today. Jesse, there's still a lot of people who really need help.
Jennifer, that's right. Flooding like this has damaged many homes. For some, the recovery may have been as easy as a dehumidifier and a day's work. But the Salvation Army says volunteers are needed now more than ever.
It's been more than a week since historic flooding hit South Bend. Most streets are cleaned up, lives returning to normal, but there are still many in need.
Everything that I own is pretty much going into the trash. Everything my kids had, everything's pretty much gone.
Adams, who doesn't have flood insurance, is getting help from local nonprofits. His neighborhood, Jewel Woods, was one of the worst hit. The Salvation Army says there are more like him.
We are seeing all kinds of need from people. 900 homes have been impacted by this flood, and I don't think people realize how serious it is.
The organization has an urgent need for volunteers. They say the flooding has heavily damaged more than 100 homes. People who lost everything.
Not only do they need financial help, but they just need care and compassion.
Sauer says our area's flooding recovery effort will last well into the next year. She compares what these people are going through to a death in the family.
They come to the funeral, you have a bunch of support, but that following year, there's still so much pain, there's still so much grief, and there's still so much work to do. That's when we'll really need people to still be there.
People like Adams appreciate the volunteers.
If it weren't for them, we wouldn't have anything right now. We'd probably be at the Center for the Homeless or Hope Rescue Mission or something like that. You know, we'd have to take refuge somewhere else.
Many are still cleaning their homes in the Jewel Woods area south of South Bend, but they aren't alone.
Okay, so where do people go if they want to help, if they're really feeling like they want to do something?
Yeah, they can go to the Kroc Center Salvation Army's website. They're building a volunteer database for the flooding, and they're going to alert people when they have needs or, you know, when there's times to help
Yeah, that help is definitely needed right now. Jesse, thanks very much. A local business leader is offering help to flooding victims. We're going to show you how at 5:30. And next here at 5, telling lies. A look at why we think it's okay for some people and not others.
You're watching WSBT 22 News at 5.
Is it ever okay to lie? 64% of Americans believe it is. Sometimes. That's according to a poll done earlier this year. WSBT 22 national correspondent Jeff Barn looks at what happens when public figures and politicians stretch the truth.
In one of the biggest scandals of the Rio Olympic Games, U.S. swimmer Ryan Lochte admittedly embellished a story that he and 3 teammates were robbed at gunpoint. Details of what took place are still emerging, but it is prompting many to wonder, why would Lochte lie?
Most people lie because they don't anticipate being caught. But the thing is that when you do get caught, you know, it's problematic.
Lochte has suffered the ire of social media and the loss of very lucrative sponsorships. The U.S. Olympic Committee has signaled there could be more consequences. Yet when it comes to politics, the consequences of lying are hit or miss.
I will always tell you the truth.
In just the past week, Donald Trump received 15 Pinocchios from the Washington Post fact-checker blog, and he got the 2015 Lie of the Year by PolitiFact readers after this claim about U.S. Muslims on 9/11.
And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey, where thousands and thousands of people were cheering.
He still won the Republican nomination.
As much as we say we don't want people to lie, we don't really hold it against people if they don't lie to us.
Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton has received 3 Washington Post Pinocchios in the past week, and new information about her private email server continues to emerge, counter to claims she made a year ago on this very issue.
We went through a thorough process to identify all of my work-related emails and deliver them to the State Department.
The FBI also discovered several thousand work-related emails that were not among the group of 30,000 emails returned by Secretary Clinton.
To rhetoric experts like Richard Vatz, the bottom line is
Hillary Clinton lies, Donald Trump lies, we all do it, and that's the truth.
I'm Jeff Barn, WSBT 22 News.
Well, certainly the tornado outbreak has been the main story today. And I want to clear up a little bit about this EF scale, the enhanced Fujita scale. This is what it is. Typically in Indiana and Michigan, for that matter, we see a lot of EF zeros when it comes to tornadoes with winds that are about 65 to 85 miles an hour. Not unheard of to have EF ones either. These can do some damage. These will do some damage to roofs, could blow out some windows, take down some trees. EF 2s are fairly rare. These are strong for our region with winds that are about the average 125 miles an hour. This was the Kokomo and Fort Wayne tornado. These are rare. That's why you saw several homes nearly destroyed. These EF4s are rare all across the plains and Midwest, and an EF5 is extremely, extremely rare. That would be your Joplin tornado, Moore, Oklahoma, that level everything in their path. So there's a little bit of a Fujita scale 101. I'll have your full forecast coming up here in just a little bit.
All right, Matt, thank you. A power plant currently being built in St. Joseph County may be a lot bigger. We have details at 5:30. And we're getting a look at some of that damage from nearly a dozen tornadoes that hit Indiana, including a very powerful one in Kokomo.
A familiar face joined in on the flooding cleanup efforts here in Jewel Woods. I'll tell you who it was coming up on WSBT 22 News.